Activision has sent out a letter talking about the Activision and Microsoft merger, throwing a little bit of shade at Sony, and there have been some interesting conversations happening over at Activision about everything that has transpired. I'm going to read these. I haven't read these yet, so we're going to be doing a little bit of a live read of all of this documentation. Let's dive into it right now. First things first, let's start with the Activision letter on the Activision Substack. This was kind of widely shared around, and if you're on their email list, you can get access to it right now. A March update on the Microsoft deal. Bobby Kotick sent these out every once in a while from Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick sent the following email to staff on Tuesday. Team, as you know, our proposed merger with Microsoft is under review by regulatory agencies around the world, some coverage of which you may have seen recently in the press. I will continue to provide updates regarding the deal. We remain confident that the transaction will ultimately be approved. Last month, our team traveled to Brussels and London with the team from Microsoft to speak at closed-door hearings with the European Commission and the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK. During these hearings, Microsoft proposed thoughtful, generous remedies to address regulators' concerns and made additional announcements reinforcing their pledge to bring more games to more players around the world. These included contractual commitments to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo and games to Nvidia for 10 years. They recently announced similar cloud services agreements with Boosteroid and Ubitus. Our proposed merger will help us compete in the increasingly competitive marketplace that includes rapidly growing foreign powerful companies that enjoy protection in their home markets and access to strong talent pools. Now, some have said that that's alluding to Sony. I think that's a pretty easy correlation to make, especially given the fact that Congress is now bringing up Sony's lock basically in the Japanese market when it comes to their own definition of the market, which is them and Xbox. I mean, when you kind of set yourself up like that, now you're getting the heat from your own ass to be defined as, you know, a more powerful unit than Nintendo. They cut out Nintendo, and now everybody's like, all right, so you don't consider Nintendo a competitor? How come you're blocking deals when you have 98% of the market share? That certainly seems like a monopoly in Japan. Let's take a closer look at it. You can check out that full video, the JFCC up there. The partnership with Microsoft will enable us to more effectively compete against these market-leading competitors. The good news is regulators who initially had concerns about console competition are starting to better understand our industry. The data and evidence Microsoft has been presenting are tilting the scale. You may have seen statements from Sony, including an argument that if this deal goes through, Microsoft could release deliberately buggy versions of our games on PlayStation. We all know our passionate players would be the first to hold Microsoft accountable for keeping its promises of content and quality parity. And all of us who work so hard to deliver the best games in our industry care too deeply about our players to ever launch subpar versions of our games. Sony has even admitted that they aren't actually concerned about a Call of Duty agreement. They would just like to prevent our merger from happening. This is obviously disappointing behavior from a partner for almost 30 years, but we will not allow Sony's behavior to affect our long-term relationship. PlayStation players know we will continue to deliver the best games possible on Sony platforms as we have since the launch of PlayStation. I do like how that is phrased, and it's kind of like a, hey, of course we're not going to let Sony go. They make us too much money, right? Bobby Kotick, I have been very public about my dislike for a lot of the decisions that he has made over the years. Even way back when I did Hard News, I took him to task when the whole splintering of Infinity Ward happened and there weren't people credited in the game credits back then. I've been very hard on him through the years, and I continue to have sort of that disdain for a lot of the things that have happened under his leadership. Don't make any mistake, though. This is happening because Sony's going to make them a lot of money. So, yeah. That's the long and the short of it, right? Yeah, we'll look past their behavior because they make us billions of dollars. Anyway, we will continue to have discussions with European and UK regulators until the decision dates, which we expect in the coming months. You may also have seen today that the Japan Fair Trade Commission, there it is, found that the deal wouldn't harm competition and unconditionally cleared our transaction. We will update you again when we have more information to share. Our team is working collaboratively with Microsoft to make sure we have answers to the many questions you have about the progress of the merger. We will continue to be helpful, supportive, and transparent as we progress through the regulatory process. Thank you for staying focused on ensuring our players continue to have the very best games and on maintaining the best workplace for our colleagues. With appreciation, Bobby. So that was the letter that was sent out. Apparently there are some additional details that we'll get into in just a second, but my immediate reaction is they're more confident than ever that the deal is going to go through. As we have said, as I have said on this channel, I feel pretty confident that's going through. And the reason I felt that confidence is because I talked with lawyers who know about this stuff better than I do. And even Rick Hogue in the beginning, he felt, I believe it was a pretty high confidence rate, and that it was going to go through. He explained the processes, and I listened to other lawyers over just professional people who know more about how this stuff works than I do. And they all said there are going to be investigations. There's going to be phase twos, but ultimately at the end of the day, this deal is going through. So when all these people started to get nervous about it, I'm like, no, I still feel like the deal's going through. Like, yeah, I can't say that I remember ever having too much of a doubt, maybe when the CMA came out in such opposition, but they've basically done a complete turnaround on that stance and now are sounding more than ever like they are going to allow the deal to go through. By the way, before I continue, hit that subscribe button if you haven't. You like the videos, hit that bell. And if you are subscribed already, hit that like button to help the video get through YouTube's algorithm. Now, there are some other things floating around. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick says Sony's disappointing behavior won't damage their long-term relationship. That is directly from the letter that we just read. And basically that is about money, right? They referenced that how Lulu Cheng Maservi brought up the statement, and yeah. Kotick also seemingly references this comment in an email to staff on Tuesday. So the Video Games Chronicle is referencing this Lulu Cheng Maservi tweet that we've talked about on the channel before, where the CEO of SIE answered that question in Brussels. In his words, I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger. So that is already there. But we also got a little bit more insight into the NetEase deal. So remember how Blizzard games were shut down in China because the NetEase deal didn't go through? Well, according to Video Game News, VideoGamesChronicle.com, Blizzard's games were reportedly pulled from China after Activision felt NetEase threatened Bobby Kotick. It's claimed Activision believed NetEase could attempt to scupper, I don't know that word, Microsoft's takeover bid. Very fancy. I don't know what that word means. A potential misunderstanding which left Activision Blizzard executives feeling that CEO Bobby Kotick had been threatened by his NetEase counterpart reportedly contributed to the company pulling its games in China. That's according to the New York Times sources, who have claimed that simmering tensions between the long-term partners over a license renewal came to a head during a conference call last October. During the conversation, what was conducted at times through translators, Activision executives reportedly felt that NetEase CEO William Ding, he had the big LinkedIn post. I made a whole video about this. He said the jerk at Activision, we all knew who he was talking about at the time. It was Bobby Kotick, right? Ended up being the reason why the games were pulled. Anyway, threatened to sway the Chinese government to... Okay, so apparently what they're hearing, what this story is reporting, is that William Ding had threatened to sway the Chinese government to either block or support Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, depending on the outcome of the negotiations. So Bobby Kotick said, yeah, we're just not going to partner with you anymore. Do whatever you're going to do. He called it, and that might have been a misunderstanding. It might not have, but honestly, if somebody was threatening to do that to your company, I don't think that's going to do anything to move negotiations forward, right? So let's keep reading. Other sources told the publication that this had been had never been NetEase's intention and was in fact simply a misunderstanding. NetEase spokesperson Alexandru Voica also denied that Ding had tried to intimidate Activision, which he said was continuing to harass and taunt companies and regulators worldwide. Okay, so NetEase is throwing more fuel on the fire basically with that statement. They're like, we never tried to do anything. Activision's still harassing and taunting regulators and oh my goodness. That anyway, further talks following October's conference call failed to heal the rift that had developed between the companies. Activision Blizzard, which had held licensing agreements with NetEase since 2008, pulled its games from the Chinese market in January. And you can see all those people playing WoW. There's videos out there. I know Asmongold did one where you see it all shut down. And he talked about the jerk at Activision causing all that. But with the additional context, I do find that kind of interesting. If there was any sort of threat and Activision basically said, yeah, we're done. We don't respond to threats like that. We'll just find another partner in China, or we'll pull out of China entirely. And you can explain to your users why that is. I kind of understand that reaction, actually, believe it or not. If that is true, they're denying it, of course. They're going to deny it. Like, why would, oh, yeah, we totally tried to intimidate Activision and then we had to shut down World of Warcraft. No, they're not going to take that heat, right? They would never admit to that, and Activision would never admit to that being the reason. So I am surprised to see this come out at all, but that is an update to that story. So that's what Activision had to say to their people. And yeah, that's sort of the Activision update about the whole story. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't really have a comment on it. Bobby Kotick's always been pretty confident that the deal's going through. And that was the latest update. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the members for supporting. I greatly appreciate you. If you want to become a member, you don't like the ads on the videos, click that join button. It's right down there. I'm going to get out of here, but before I go, if you want to check out the previous video with some interesting tidbits about what's going on, you can do so right over here. And I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.